Welcome to our countdown of the top 50 World Cup goals. There have, of course, been hundreds and hundreds of brilliant strikes since it all began, so whittling it down to 50 has been a pretty tricky business. But we've done it, so sit back and enjoy, starting with this sublime strike from Senegal.
It was a wonderful goal. There'd be great pride in that goal. Great break, speedy movement, good play and selfish play off the ball by players who weren't involved in the move.
And a wonderful opportunity, and that is a magnificent goal by Diao.
I think if you were a coach that day, you'd be really, really proud.
It's almost choreographed. It's almost like they've, been out there for the last 3 days working on this, and everybody knows their moves, and this is what they're going to do, and the opposition are going to play ball. Diao bursts a blood vessel to get there, and it's a fantastic goal. I mean, if they're 49 better than that, this is going to be some show.
The way he strikes that free kick, the way it goes over the wall, now we're used to seeing it. We're used to seeing it with the technology, the lightweight footballs, the fantastic, lightweight boots as well. But with those heavy footballs like they had in '66, to be able to do that was something that, Europeans hadn't seen. It was magical.
This was a particularly good goal. Puyol breaking it up, playing cleverly with Torres.
How much Puyol still wanted the ball and teed it up for Torres. That's a magnificent goal.
This was a very good Spanish goal. They played some very fine football this day. And everyone was talking about they could go all the way.
To Pescu. And it's down the left that they concentrate this attack. Oh! What a stunning blow that one is!
The camera picks him up, and it looks like he's actually meaning to cross, and I have to say, I think that gives it away. I'm not sure he meant it.
Was it a fluke? I don't think it was. Give him the total credit.
He's a great player, and he probably thinks he deserves the benefit of the doubt. The fantastic thing about the Borghetti goal is that I just can't remember seeing a header like that in any game.
Blanco looking for Borghetti. Oh, he got a good touch, and he scored a very good goal.
Did he quite know where the goalkeeper was? Who knows? It was Buffon. He's beaten him. Superb finish.
Roger Milla. Where did he come back from? I think they said he was about 38, although there was some talk that he was 50-odd in the end.
We were talking about Miller, good turn. Miller inside the penalty area. He gets off the line. Roger Miller's done it.
There's one thing that you can say, there's no substitute for experience, because get this guy around the box, get the ball in the right position, and time again, he will stick it in the back of the net. This guy was a finisher.
Everything about him was immaculate. His touch on the ball was exemplary. His vision was fantastic. And his ability, to keep his head in a situation like that. He had the goal at his will. He could make the ball sing, dance, whatever. There was nothing hurried about him. It was like he was playing in slow motion. A classic goal from one of the players that you would have to put in the top 5 of all time.
Sospe's still on the ball. Carlos Cesar, Brazilian, picking up the pace now, putting some pressure, real hard pressure. Harnessing the defense, Sospe. And here's Pele. Jazino. There it is. Jazino gets it.
You know the football phrase, he's got eyes in the back of his head. Somebody check Pele next time they see him, because how he knows where Jairzinho is down to pure footballing instinct. And because the ball is instantly under control, he has the entire situation under control, and he can decide who scores, how and when. Here, you have it. Look how they celebrate that goal. I mean, so many wonderful individuals in the team. I guess there must have been egos in the team, but there's absolutely no sign of it there. We're all affected by our boyhood heroes, and 1970 was a wonderful time to be a boy with that team to watch.
Geoff Hurst was always quite self-deprecating about that goal. He said all he wanted to do was hit it as hard as he could, as far as he could, and if it went into the crowd and run the clock down, well, then he was quite happy. But listen, there was much more to it than that. You know, this was a man who sort of dragged the German defence all over the pitch, and suddenly he switched up and he's just lashed it. And it's almost like, you know, an outpouring of emotion. But it was one of those great moments, I'm sure every Englishman who was at Wembley that day, every Englishman who was watching the game at home on television will be able to say, well, I know exactly where I was, exactly what I was doing when Geoff Hurst scored that fourth goal.
I think the Amakochi goal in '94 was just around that time when there was an explosion of African footballers, and especially the Nigerians were producing a real crop of talented players. And I think, you know, without stereotyping, they had pace, they had power, but they had skill and they had good understanding of the game.
Amakochi plowing through, and that will go down as one of the best of the competition.
Well, hopefully that's got you in the mood. After the break, we've got 20 more absolute belters for you, including a German legend, an Italian World Cup winner, and one of England's finest. Welcome back. We are counting down the top 50 World Cup goals, and here come numbers 40 to 21. At 40, one of the highlights of France '98.
This is Najenka. And he's being invited to go a long way here. Still Najenka. He's gone right through and scores! Oh, what a goal! The Austrian defence in total disarray. But he still had to show great composure in front of goal.
The thing that you remember as much as anything is the ball forward to Didier Cisse. You know, suddenly the ball stabbed forward, and when you're watching it on television, you think, well, that's fairly aimless.
Latterly. And Cisse is clear and onside and strikes a superb shot.
And he's taken the ball on his chest, and you think, great, wonderful control. Take another touch, swat it past the goalkeeper. No, not even a thought of taking another touch. It was an instant volley, perfectly executed. That was a goal that any Brazilian would have been proud to have on his highlight tape.
I think he was one of those players, Lechkov, that I hadn't really heard of before the World Cup, but he made a big impression.
And a goal! Lechkov!
Remember, he had like the slightly balding head with the little piece at the front, the little island on, but he was a great header of the ball. You saw his timing. He was great at running inside defenders and making a contact, and he was a potent weapon coming from midfield, and it played a big part in Bulgaria's success. I watched the Beckenbauer goal a couple of times, and you just saw an effortless class about the man.
Great players make time for themselves, and when Beckenbauer played that return pass, went through the defenders and slid it in the corner, that was the first sights we saw of this great German player.
I was watching him and I thought to myself, I don't think I've ever seen him with dirty shorts. He's one of those players who, did he ever tackle? Did he ever get dirty? A little bit like Bobby Moore. You know, there's some players who the game is almost too easy for. Kaiser Beckenbauer was certainly one of those.
Maradona scores a team goal, whatever next. They were popping it about nicely, they were. The opening doors all over the place. But there was still a pass on, actually, when it came back to Maradona, but he thought, no, my turn now. My return to the team needs marking with something special. Stand aside, everybody. Watch this.
Maradona! Oh! Maradona scores! And he has marked his return to international football with a stunning strike.
We thought it showed a man back at his best, but his celebrations told us another story, and obviously subsequent events prove that that shot was fueled by more than just his left foot.
Germany were at home, it was their tournament, you know, they were one of the favourites, although it was a young team to do well, and it's such a difficult skill to hit a ball coming across your body at the pace that it was hit.
Torsten Frings has hit it! Fabulous!
So many players were looking to shoot on sight. It was almost as the coaches had been saying to the players, when you get near goal, have a pop.
We'll never hit a sweet one. He may never hit a ball like that again. It absolutely flew in. And I think at the time started to raise the expectations of the Germans that it could be their year.
Nice touch by Baggio. Serena, Schillaci. Schillaci's done it again.
It's a sapphire and steel goal, lovely touch of finesse from Baggio and indeed from Serena, and then just a clout from Schillaci.
I was slightly surprised in the Bajcevic goal because it showed an unexpected flair and skill that I wasn't sort of looking for, and he turns inside left foot and right foot inside two defenders, and I think kills the ball with the inside of his left foot into the top corner.
What a good goal! What a marvellous goal from Wiesbeck! Picks that out of the net. We won't see a better goal than that in this World Cup.
I don't really think we thought Russian players did those type of things, but yeah, it's a wonderful goal.
There haven't been many players in the history of the game who can run with the ball faster than the defenders running without the ball. And it helps, of course, when you get them running backwards, and it helps when you've got that kind of balance and manoeuvrability that Maradona had.
Here's Maradona now. Is this number 2? Oh, brilliant.
His speed across the ground with the ball tied to his foot is what made him so special and what made that World Cup his World Cup.
Mr. Germany, he was a captain, he drove them on from midfield, he was the epitome of your modern midfield player, really. Efficient, got forward, didn't, not too fussy, but scored important goals when it was needed, when his team needed him. He came up with big goals, and this was another big goal in a big World Cup game.
Matthäus with some space, supporting play, Voller and Klinsmann. Matthäus can go again. Oh, great goal! Lothar Matthäus with what must be the goal of the competition so far.
Names are not fictitious. Vasily Rats of Dynamo Kiev scored against Joel Batz of Paris Saint-Germain.
Keeping possession, Altabera, given away then by Lenikov. Belanov, shot for Rats. Magnificent goal by Rats.
So here's the quiz question. Name another instance in the history of the World Cup when the goal scorer and the goalkeeper's names rhymed. I don't know.
I think when you look at the goal scored by Zico, it sums up a little bit about Brazilian football. Why head it or, volley it in easily when you can do a bicycle kick?
And the technique, well, just unrivalled, unquestioned technique.
Now Cerezo, Leandro, 2 men only in the box at the moment. Oh, that is a great goal! What a magnificent goal by Zico!
An overhead kick like that in a pressure game, magnificent. To me, one of my heroes.
He's almost preparing for the bicycle kick as the ball's coming in from the cross, and that's the thing of somebody of that technical ability. They prepare themselves better and earlier than the normal player would.
That 1982 team was absolutely magnificent, and probably the most crazily exhibitionist goal you'll see.
And now Serginho on the burst, chance here for Eder to make it 3. Oh, what an intelligent flip! Oh, that was pure genius.
He could have done anything with it, but in the end he thought, well, OK, I'll just show you what else I can do. I've got a little chip, a chip that humiliates goalkeepers, because there is nothing worse than standing there and watching a ball go over your head and there's absolutely nothing you could do. And there it was, in the back of the net, a goalkeeper flat-footed. Everything about that goal was beautiful. It was carved out of nothing. Peter Beardsley's pass.
Beardsley.
Flicked it first time to Hodge.
Superbly done.
Steve Hodges' run, his first time delivery.
Lineker is in the middle.
And then suddenly there's Lineker sneaking in, those ridiculously tight shorts.
Lineker!
Just drifting that ball into the top of the net.
Brilliant!
Fantastic goal.
Beardsley. Superbly done for Hodge. Lineker is in the middle. Lineker! Brilliant!
We've seen and we will see some wonderful moments of finesse from you know, the great players of World Cup history, the Tostaus and the Bergkamps and so on. But I tell you, that pass from Peter Beardsley, that belongs in that class. It's a wonderful reverse pass, cutting pass. Just invites Steve Hodge to cross the ball for Gary Lineker to score a great goal. But Peter Beardsley was the brains of the operation.
Talk about vision, talk about awareness. You know, you talk about sort of, you know, great players seeing pictures and painting pictures in their mind that ordinary mortals can't see. Well, that ball was the absolute epitome of that.
Oh, it's a lovely ball through. Danger here from Stoichkov, who'll get inside the Mexican penalty area. It's a wonderful strike. Terrific goal for Bulgaria from Hristo Stoichkov.
I don't ever remember him being that quick. Maybe I'm doing him a disservice. I think the one thing I do know is when he got there with that left foot, he's going to hammer it past the goalkeeper, and as usual, it ends up in the back of the net.
Giannini. The ball pushed up for offside, the Czechs. Iraki's in an offside position if it's delivered to him yet. But still, Badger. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes! What a goal by Badger!
He just floats across the ground. There's only one defender who really gets close to getting in a challenge. He just sort of scoots away from him, and then he's running at the rest of the defence, and he's got them completely under his spell. He can go either way. He can decide who he's going to go past. He can decide when and how he's going to score the goal. He's that much in control at that moment.
I remember sitting in the crowd behind the goal. I think it was Bergomi that passed the ball square to Tardelli, and it looked as though he was just losing the ball as it was drifting away from him, and he was almost on the floor as he struck it with his left foot. We had this vibrant celebration. He seemed like a crazed dervish as he ran towards the bench.
It's a good goal, but it's a brilliant celebration, and I think just sums up what football is all about, really.
He was one of those great players who could step up into any position. You know, he played at fullback, but you could have put him in midfield. You could probably have played him up front, and he would have been absolutely at home because he's just so technically gifted and with a great shot on him.
Breitner coming forward. Breitner's shot! Yes! What a beauty!
He was a left back, and here using his right foot with, whacking a cannonball. Two-footed player, great player. The fantastic thing about the Jairzinho run, a great finish, great goal, but it's the build-up.
Jairzinho, Pele, Tostao. Nice little touch off there from Pele. Jairzinho, and he's round Matosas. What will Matosas do here? He scores! Yes!
There's a little flick from Pele just in the centre circle, which sort of gets the whole thing moving, and it's a tiny, tiny touch, but the class of the mark of a genius. Brilliant.
There were fast, athletic players back in 1970, and Jairzinho was one of them. He outruns the defence, almost outmuscles the last defender in order to score the goal.
Jurgen Klinsmann, goal scorer supreme, great volleyer, great timer of shots, twister and turner.
Thomas Hassler, has he got a shooting opportunity? It's a little bit wide. Balls to Klinsmann. Oh, what a goal! Jurgen Klinsmann with a superb overhead kick. That was class.
If you're watching on the goal, it's his movement that's impressive. He lays the ball wide, and then you watch when he gets into the box how he makes himself difficult to mark. He comes away from 4 defenders When the ball comes, he flicks it up with his right foot, volleys it in with his left foot. It's just an outstanding goal scorer's goal.
Somewhat inevitably, on a show like this, the goals come thick and fast. Next, 20 more humdingers, including a Scottish moment of genius, the most famous Brazilian of them all, and an England World Cup winner. Welcome back. The countdown continues from 20 to 6. And at 20, one of the few moments England fans had to cheer at the last World Cup.
You go through this list of 50 goals, and there are many spectacular ones, but actually this one is undoubtedly one of the most eye-catching, just because the dip on the volley is staggering.
Beckham squeezing across here. Crouch is waiting there. So too is Lampard. Good defended by Tobias Linderoth. Joe Cole, why not? Swinging shot, brilliant! Oh, why not? Absolutely fantastic goal from Joe Cole.
We sort of probably talk about these sort of goals as if it should come from Brazilians, South Americans, but here was a good old English lad, Cockney, London lad, performing a great feat on the biggest stage.
The look on Joe's face as he scored that goal, you know, one of those memories that he will live with for the rest of his life. To my dying day, I'll never know how Kubias does this. He scores a goal that looks physically impossible.
Kubilas, number 10, might well be the player to watch here. We shall see. Here he comes. Kubilas drives it in, and it's a goal. Well, Kubilas, brilliant third goal for Peru.
Kubias has hit it with the outside of his right foot. Nobody could even imagine anybody thinking about that, let alone pulling it off so spectacularly.
He ran at such an angle that he thought he's going to have to hit this with the outside of his foot, which is something you didn't see that much at the time. And he hit it with such pace and bend with the outside of his right foot. And again, it was one of those moments where I think as a kid you go outside and you start practising to try and kick this ball like he does. I mean, it's a great skill to have, and it's a super goal.
You think of great Brazilian goals and you think of them scored by forwards or midfielders, but this was a right back.
Josimar. Good effort. Oh, and a goal.
A gangly, spider-legged right back whose limbs didn't look as if they should be attached to his body. They had a life of their own. But suddenly he's galloped forward and it was a fantastic goal.
Argentina were many people's favourites. They had a very fine side. Here was the Argentinians playing this rhythmic, slow build-up, completely dominating the ball for something like 25, 26, 27 passes. The players just rolled the ball around. It was like a rhythmic rhapsody of football. It was wonderful.
The Serbians don't actually touch the ball for something near on 2 minutes. It's just a number of passes, and they're actually trying to either kick the ball, kick the Argentinian players. They just can't get near them. In a way, the move got the finish it deserved. It was one of the great team goals, I think, in World Cup football.
Serbia and Montenegro just simply can't get the ball off them. It's Sorin again. Saviola. Riquelme. Lovely football here by Argentina. That was Cambiasso with Crispo. Cambiasso scores. It was a wonderfully, wonderfully worked goal.
I loved Adair. Everything that he did in that tournament was brilliant, and he had such confidence in his own ability. He could do anything he liked with his left foot, and that volley, you know, after the little dummy, he's flicked it up and just lashed it.
Is it there? Oh! And he did! It's
All I can remember is the goalkeeper standing for about 5 seconds after the ball's in the back of the net in exactly the same position. He was one of the great Brazilian players, certainly of that era. Everybody remembers Zico, they remember Socrates, Falcao, but Adair was something special.
It was what I call the 3 Ps. It was patience as he waited for the ball, it was precision with the way he connected it, and it was power. I mean, it was past the keeper before he could even move. It was an outstanding strike. The goalkeeper had absolutely no chance.
Headed away by Henriksen, came to Garcia, and then Rodriguez, oh!
Garcia's touch, or his touches, they're almost playful, aren't they? It's almost like a bit of sort of training ground keepy-uppy, and then eventually just sort of lifts it towards Rodriguez and says, go on, son, you know, get your foot through that, have a strike of that.
Holland v Scotland was, I assume in footballing terms, something of a mismatch, you know, the great Dutch sides, but, you know, Archie Gemmill picked this ball up and he was surrounded by white shirts of the Holland defenders.
Nicking the ball at first, a swerve, a body feint, inside, outside, and then all of a sudden he's going into the box faced with the Dutch goalkeeper and placing his shot, clipping his shot with his left foot beyond him to the right-hand side of the goal. Tremendous goal.
And we'll get it now from Gemmill. Gemmill could go all the way, and he's out here. Yes! Beautiful goal, Archie Gemmill. His second goal of the game. And that's as good a goal, I'm sure, as we'll see in the whole of the competition.
To be honest, I'm as much struck by seeing all these fantastic Scottish internationals. You look at the team, Dalglish, Souness, Asa Hartford running over to celebrate. And it really makes you pine for the days when Scotland did produce this sort of football.
Archie Gemmill's memory of that will be a very proud one. It was a very, very fine goal. He was very cool.
It's just an outrageous place to shoot from. I mean, they've got 3 or 4 players rushing into the box waiting for a cross.
Oh, that's a good one!
You don't try that kind of shot unless you know you can score from there and everybody else in the team knows you can score from there. Your instincts tell you that it must have been deflected, but I've watched it a few times now and I can't see a deflection. I think that all the bend is Nelinho's bend. I don't think it touches anything between the outside of his little toe and the inside of the post. Bobby Charlton, left-footed or right-footed?
Couldn't tell whether he's left or right-footed. He could go either way, and it's a great skill to have.
I guess the answer is with the foot that he carries the ball from inside his own half at great pace, his left foot. But then that just makes the shot with the right foot all the more special, doesn't it?
He's taken the ball from his own half, he's taken it at pace.
Switched it from his left foot to his right foot, and he hit this wonderful right-footed thunderbolt.
It was a magnificent goal.
When you see him hit this ball, look at his technique. Both feet off the ground. Wonderful shot.
As impressive as the goal is, I was also impressed with the way that he jumps, goes down, bends his knees and stands up. And I'm looking at that thinking, God, that should certainly hurt your knees. But he was obviously not only a great player, but an outstanding athlete as well.
Bobby Charlton scored some magnificent goals in his time, but if you were to ask him, he would probably put that as his number one. Socrates was this masterful player, so elegant. You know, he used to strut around. You never saw him, even in those temperatures. He didn't look as if he was going to ever break sweat. He strolled around, and then he could just pull moments of pure magic out of the hat.
He was just a wonderful physique, and he had a real presence. And you see how he skips past a couple of tackles and smashes a ball in.
Moment's hesitation there. Owen still not clear as Besanov didn't quite connect. It's come straight out to Socrates. Socrates still trying to get the opening. Oh, Socrates! Whoa! What a goal!
He took the ball. You thought, what's he going to do? Is he going to play it out right, out left? He can do anything he likes. He stepped inside, right foot, top corner. Goalkeeper didn't smell it. Brazil scored probably 5 or 6 of the greatest goals that you'll ever see in a tournament. You know, I remember thinking, you know, this is the way you want to see football played.
It's a dramatic goal because it means so much. It's the last minute of extra time. It puts England into the quarter-finals of the World Cup. A split second before he scores the goal, David Platt is facing his own goal. He's outside the width of the Belgian goal, and the ball is dropping towards him from quite a height from Paul Gascoigne. So to follow it round, which he has to do as he pivots and spins, and to actually catch up with it with your foot and then strike the ball as cleanly as that is some skill to perform.
Chip in there, and play has scored!
As soon as the ball's there and as soon as it's left his foot, you think, something special. Absolutely something special. To do that in such a high-intensity, high-profile game, minutes from the end, seconds from the end, if you like, to be able to pull that off and have the confidence to do that. One of the great England goals in a World Cup.
Gascoigne chips it in. I think he's hoping for the best. I think it would be pushing it to say that he knew exactly where the ball was going to land and that Platt would swing a volley onto it. It's a brilliant finish, fantastic finish, and a crucial, crucial goal for England.
I remember Ian Wright talking to David Platt at the training ground and saying, Platty, that goal was lucky. And Platty came out with the age-old saying, you know, the more I practice, the luckier I get. What I remember most about the 1978 tournament was that you could hit a ball from the halfway line and it seemed to be flying into the top corner. Poor old Tino Zoff, he didn't even sniff it.
Maybe the best goalkeeper in the world at the time. Now, it's not only a shot of real power, but it's a shot by a player who's got real confidence in his ability to produce that kind of power, because you don't take on Zoff from that kind of range unless you know you can beat him.
15 minutes between Holland and another World Cup final. Long distance shot is in! What a goal by Harry Hart!
Hit this ball with such swerve and it moved so much. I mean, Zoff really did dive to full stretch and got absolutely nowhere near. I mean, it was a stunning strike.
Phenomenal. It's possibly the goal from that somebody's meant from the longest distance that I've ever seen. And you knew he meant it.
He just couldn't resist, could he? It just came down off his chest and he thought, I'm having a bit of that. I don't care if this goes out of the stadium. I am going to hit this.
Oh, yes! A fabulous strike by Maxi.
Maxi Rodriguez takes it so well, but it was the finish, the volley. Apart from taking it on his chest and coming inside the full-back, it was an absolutely crackerjack of a shot. Left foot volley, taken on his chest. Fantastic goal. We'd heard so much about this young phenomena, Pelé.
Here was Pelé, a teenager, scoring a superb goal in a World Cup final. I think the context, you know, has to be remembered, and that's why this goal definitely deserves to be up near the top.
What would be the three most difficult skills for a footballer? Would chest control, lifting the ball over a defender and running around him in the space of a yard, and then timing a volley of a falling ball, would they be three of the most difficult skills that a footballer has got to perform? Probably.
I don't know how anybody that young can have that much brilliance about them.
That goal still looks as good as if it would have been played today.
I guess we've still got a couple of great individual runs to come. Could be wrong, but a certain number 10 here runs probably as far as the other two famous number 10s put together before he scores his goal. It's some goal.
And again, the Saudis break very sharply. What a terrific run this is. Wonderful piece of football. He's still in here. Oh, that's the greatest goal of the tournament. A fabulous goal.
That goal was one of those where you go, you know, I don't really think he knows what he's doing. He's just running with the ball. He's just running with the ball. And suddenly he's in the penalty area and he's being tackled and he's holding things off and he's got these great big spidery legs. It didn't look like sort of brain and legs were connected, but suddenly the ball's in the back of the net and you look round and you think, how has he done that?
I think if he was Brazilian, we'd be talking more about this goal than we are. So I think, you know, a huge credit to a Saudi Arabian player who can score a goal at that calibre, at that level.
What an absolute peach that goal was by Owairan of Saudi Arabia. And for it not to be in our top five means we have some exceptional finishes still to come. We have a Dutch master, the greatest player of all time, and the greatest team of all time. But who and what will top the pile? We have finally reached the top 5 in our countdown of World Cup greatest goals, which means, of course, that we have 5 worldies to show you. At 5, cast your minds back, please, to 1998, when a young Englishman made his mark on the world stage.
England schoolboy player, prolific scorer. Was he too young to put into the England team? He wasn't.
I was in the stadium that night and Beckham passes him the ball and you think, OK, hold it up. You know, we've been under a bit of pressure. Don't do anything silly. Let's just kill the game. Let's calm everything down.
Beckham now to Owen, and here's another Owen run. He's going to worry them again. It's a great run by Michael Owen, and he might finish it off. Oh, it's a wonderful goal! What an amazing moment in Michael Owen's young career.
He was so precocious at that time. You know, a teenager who didn't have any fear. He said, well, OK, I may be a kid, but I'm going to take you all by surprise. And suddenly, the fear was in the Argentinians' eyes. As he moved towards them, they were backing off, and you're thinking, OK, now just pass it. And you could see Paul Scholes appearing out of the corner of your eye, and you're thinking, give it to Scholesy, give it to Scholesy. And you can actually see Scholesy screaming for the ball. And Owen ignores him, absolutely ignores him, and lashes it in. And you think, hold on, that's one of ours doing that against the Argentinians. This really could be our night. This is sensational.
That was Michael Owen in 1998. He was, you know, fast as a blur to begin with, but just so wonderfully, naively confident. Nothing fazed him, nothing bothered him. He was on that stage and he felt that he belonged from the beginning, and so once he finished the run, smash it into the top corner, and that's what he did.
You take away that memory, and you take away the memory of a press box, jaded, cynical hacks, if you like, all to a man. Even some of the Scottish guys in the press box, and I'm sure they won't thank me for saying so, were up on their feet, just looking at each other in disbelief. And as the players were hugging each other and scrambling to get to Michael Owen, a load of journalists were looking at each other going, yes, and throwing our arms around each other.
Laptops flying everywhere, pens, notepads. People just couldn't help themselves. I mean, here was a young lad coming in at this huge tournament and just, just treating it as if it was a park game. It was, I think, definitely the greatest World Cup goal scored by an Englishman, that's for sure.
It's a wonderful moment because it's a goal for Mexico in Mexico City in front of 120,000 people. Anybody who's watched football in Mexico will never forget it.
Negrete. And Negrete again! Magnificent goal!
It was a great move.
As he plays the 1-2, the ball never touches the ground.
I think there are 5 touches there and the ball touches the ground once. It's just tip, tap, tap, tap. It's like a little training ground game that they're playing where the ball's not allowed to touch the ground until it touches the back of the net.
The scissor kick was perfection. You know, he's thrown himself up and you think, oh, he's diving for a penalty, but then suddenly he's swiveled and he's just spun the ball into the far corner across the goalkeeper.
Volley's actually hit with a lot of control. There's a lot talked about body position in analysis of volleying a ball, and I don't think you'll find any football textbook which says that the body position should be completely horizontal, as it is in that case. But somehow Negrete finds the kind of balance to be able to steer the ball exactly where he wants it to go.
Everything about that goal was South American. You know, everybody forgets that, you know, the Mexicans have got the touch, the equal of a Brazilian, of an Argentinian, and the vision to be able to do that was outstanding.
3 touches, and I don't know which is my favourite. Control, turn, finish. Can you think of anybody who could have scored that goal with that kind of style and panache? Anybody? I can't.
Long ball play towards Bergkamp. Bergkamp's come inside, and Bergkamp has scored a sublime goal, the sort of goal that only he can score.
Just remember the pass as much as anything. Bergkamp had peeled off, and De Boer to pick him out, inch perfectly from probably 50 or 60 yards, the control from Bergkamp, the balance to take it past the defender, and then just that little stab off the outside of his foot. He didn't panic, he didn't rush. It was like ice water sort of flowing through his veins, you know, despite the fact it was 90 degrees and it was this huge match against Argentina.
I think if you know the man, you understand the goal. He's one of those players who goes cool in what I call hot situations, and the way that he touched the ball, bullet inside the fella and knocked it in is genius, really.
The stage was set. England against Argentina. Maradona, this phenomenal, squat, quick, elusive player. He took the ball in the centre of the field, and there was Peter Reid.
Number 16, is he? Starts to chase Maradona. And actually, Reedy, for a chugger, was no slouch over the first few yards. But after about 3 paces, he kind of starts to wave him goodbye, and Peter satisfies himself with having one of the best views in the house and one of the best goals ever scored.
I remember speaking to Peter about it a few years ago and saying, you know, Pete, why didn't you just hack him down on the halfway line? I said, you had the chance. He said, I couldn't even get close enough to kick him. He said, that's how good he was.
I think, to be honest, now he looks back, he can also just feel a privilege to have been on the same pitch as possibly the world's greatest player, playing possibly his greatest ever game.
We haven't been able to control the play in midfield the way that Maradona has been able to do. And he's hurting England again here. It's a brilliant run. It's one of the World Cup great goals.
The vision, the pace, the balance, but the strength to hold off 5 or 6 tackles. And even when Terry Butcher comes in and slides in, most players would have collapsed underneath it. But Maradona had the wherewithal to keep his balance, pick his spot, and although Terry Butcher will tell you he probably got the last touch, it's not one that he's ever going to claim.
I think he's dethroned Pelé. I've never seen such a wonderful player. He's fantastic.
It is a fantastic moment, and David Pleat said it straight away. You know, this is the best player in the world now, and that was the goal, probably his greatest ever goal.
I remember that Azteca Stadium in Mexico went absolutely crazy, and of course I think England, tongue-in-cheek, really knew that they'd seen a goal scored against them of the very, very, very highest quality.
It's the goal that the victory and the team deserved. It's what they could do. No other team at that World Cup could do that. Maybe no other team before or since has been able to do that. It is their signature moment.
It just epitomises all that's great about Brazilian football: pace, the rhythm, the balance, the control, and a stunning finish at the end.
I think everyone can understand this being the winning goal, the context, the Brazil 1970 team. There's just a joy about it that I think sums up the 1970 Brazil side, and well, it makes you smile to watch it, doesn't it? It's exuberant, and that's what Brazilian football is.
It only happened once in the 1970 World Cup, and we know who did that. I don't think Brazil are going to do it here. Erzino, faced by Facchetti. Oh, it's not a bad ball for Pelé on the right side. It's Carlos Alberto. And what a great goal that was!
Everything about that goal was just was perfection personified. The little turns, the little drag backs, and then suddenly Carlos Alberto came charging up from the back. You know, he must have run 40 or 50 yards just to get on the end of it. It was absolutely magnificent.
This goal really epitomised everything about Brazil. The way they waited for players to come and support, the way they took their time, the way they worked the ball from the left of the field to the right of the field, and the way Pelé just held the ball and waited and almost teased the Italian defence. And then at the last second, when he knew that Carlos Alberto was on his shoulder, he just waited and slipped that ball as though to say, here it comes, here it comes. And Carlos Alberto came and thundered that shot into the far corner. That was beautiful football.
Well, it seems only fair, really, that the #1 spot goes to that seminal Brazilian World Cup winning team from 1970, although any of the top 5 could have been worthy winners. We've seen some great goals, and I hope brought back some great memories.
Oh, it's not a bad ball for Pelé on the right side. It's Carlos Alberto. And what a great goal that was!